Hello and welcome to the preview show here on the Williamson Source. I'm Steve Peak. We have 13 games to get to this week in our coverage area, starting off with our game analysis, our predictions and previews, starting with Franklin at McGavock. Franklin hasn't really been challenged yet in their first two games, winning easily against Clarksville Northeast and winning easily against Dixon County. They outscored their opponents in those two games 88-13. Bryce Millam averaging 82 yards per game. Joe Critchell averaging 183 yards through the air. And those two players have yet to play a full game, just showing you what kind of offense the Rebels have. But their defense is not chopped liver. Their defense has not allowed much on the not allowed their opponents to move the ball. McGavock, though, is 3-0 with two big wins over Tullahoma, Rossview, three big wins, over Tullahoma, Rossview, and Glencliff. And if you've looked at that score from the Rossview game, 47-41, don't let it fool you. The Raiders led 47-13 heading into the fourth quarter, and then Rossview nearly pulled off the comeback for the ages and cut it to 6 with just a few seconds remaining. We know that both teams can score and both defenses are pretty stout, so this should be a battle and a tough test for Franklin on the road. Our staff has picked Franklin to win, but I'm not 100% sure about it. We'll see if the Rebels can improve to 3-0. Summit at West Creek, the Spartans are just still trying to grow, not just as a football program, but as a school. Last week, losing to a really tough Independence team, 48-7. And you know, it got some people thinking, is this maybe Summit's last real chance at a win in 2014? That'd be huge for the program. You know, you don't want to go through the whole season winless. But the Coyotes are 1-2. They haven't looked all that impressive. Still for Summit, it's a road game, but that could be a good thing. You know, their only wins in their short school history have all come on the road. So you never know. Maybe you get a win there and start to build some confidence. And that's what Coach Coleman told us early before the season started. He said that's the whole thing: changing the attitude, changing how the mindset that that they can win, believing in themselves that they can get victories, and it would go a long way to get a win in week 3. Brentwood at Hendersonville. The Bruins were just one completion away from a big win against Centennial last week. They traveled to Hendersonville. And again, it's just making us think, Mike Woodward does not shy away from competition. This is one of the most brutal schedules, probably the toughest schedule, and I haven't looked at the rankings, but probably the toughest schedule in all of Tennessee, playing CPA in the first week, Blackman the second week, of course Centennial in week 3, and now Hendersonville in week 4. That's the Class 6A runner-up. Last year, the Bruins did defeat Hendersonville 35-31, but this year on the road, it will only be tougher for the winless Bruins. Carson Croy is starting to look more comfortable at quarterback. If he can continue to improve and the defense continues to improve or continues to adjust to the new defensive scheme that Mike Woodward had put in, this team can be dangerous. And like I said in our post on Tuesday night, it's a team that you can't take lightly. We're picking the Bruins to get a huge road win. Again, it's a pick I don't feel 100% confident about. But again, Brentwood one play away last week. Maybe this week they can make that play happen and get a win at Hendersonville. Clarksville at Centennial. Clarksville has been blown out twice, while on the other hand, it's been Centennial handing out the thrashings, with the exception being last week's game against Brentwood. Back at home following the overtime district win, they're going to be fired up. The Cougars should have no problem taking down Clarksville. We're taking Centennial to improve to 4-0. CPA at Maplewood. The Panthers took on Lipscomb Academy at Vanderbilt last week and fell 33-26 to the 1-2. Maplewood will be hosting one of the top teams in Tennessee when the CPA Lions come to town. In our extra points segment earlier this week, said something else, that CPA is just that good. I don't see a team on their schedule that they should not beat. It's gonna take a special team doing something special to take down CPA. And with all due respect to Maplewood, they're not that team. We're taking CPA to keep rolling and improving to 4-0. Spring Hill at White House Heritage. Another thing I mentioned in our extra points segment is whether or not the Raiders are for real. And this could be the first real test. White House Heritage is 2-0 on the season, but they don't pass much. 9 times, that's it. 9 times all season with Hunter Reyes. They are, however, averaging nearly 390 yards on the ground. Kyle Fuhrer has 7 rushing touchdowns, averaging 128 rushing yards per game. For Spring Hill, they have dual threat quarterback Tylen Oden, who threw 3 touchdowns last week, and then an explosive player in the backfield in Malcolm Nicholson. He had 2 touchdowns last week and had a kickoff return called back, so nearly 3 touchdowns for him. The 2 combined for 5 touchdowns in that close win last week against Cascade. This game could prove whether or not Spring Hill is for real. And if they've taken those steps under Coach Turchetta in only his second year, towards success? We will find out when they play White House Heritage, and we are once again picking Spring Hill. I said it last week. We're not going to pick against the Raiders until they prove us wrong. So they're 3-0 for the first time since 2009. Let's see if they can make it 4 in a row to start off the season. Now here's a team that it's been impressive. It was really impressive against Stewart County last week. Fairview taking on Creekwood at Creekwood. Hunter Zimmerman threw 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. 15 of 18 for 230 yards. The junior was more than impressive and has been all season. Creekwood has taken a couple tough losses, but did beat Cheatham County by 13 more than Fairview did. Take that for what it's worth. You know, you'll hear me say this a lot of times. You'll hear me say this plenty of times. That the way a team matches up against one team is not necessarily how they'll match up against another. So the difference in the final score, the difference, even if they would have lost to Cheatham, doesn't really mean a whole lot. But take it for what it's worth. They did beat them by 13. Still, we're taking the Yellow Jackets to improve to 3-1. FRA at DCA, the Panthers are trying to be the first team all season to put a point on the scoreboard against Donaldson Christian Academy. DCA has won, and check this out, 20-0, 35-0, and 49-0. And FRA last week pulled off an overtime thriller with an Alex Chase touchdown, and then of course getting the breaking up the pass in overtime as they try to tie the game. Boyd Buchanan tried to tie the game. This will be a challenge. DCA obviously a very stout defense, and FRA hasn't really lit up the scoreboard this year. They have, however, scored 21 points or more in all 3 of their games, so that's big, and we'll see if FRA can make it 3 out of their first 4. That's what we got, but it will not be easy by any means. But if FRA is to win this game, if they do win, I believe it will be just as tight. It can't get any closer, really, but just as tight as their win was last week. So hold on, Panther fans.
And now we will take you in the film room with FRA.
It's tied 21-21 at this point, and you'll see the Panthers lining up in the flex bone formation. That's 2 halfbacks behind the tackle. And then keep your eye, of course, on number 11 right here. That's Alex Chase. He'll be getting the ball, but also look, as we'll we'll go through this a little bit. Watch number 63. He's right there on your screen. And watch where he goes to make the block. That's number 63, Garrett Walker. And then watch number 6. That's Walker Casey. And the blocks they give to Alex Chase so he can hit the C-gap. That is a good block right there by Casey on the left side. And you can see Alex Chase planting. And now you see other linemen blocking. 63 went all the way from the right side, all the way to the left. And Garrett Walker. And then as the gap starts to close up, Alex Chase putting on a good move here. It looked like Boyd Buchanan's Jake Harden was going to be able to get in there for the stop. Even if he were to make contact, looked like Chase was right there by the 1-yard line, but he misses. The good move from Chase. He takes it into the end zone for the touchdown. BGA at Mount Pleasant. The Wildcats have an offense capable of putting up a lot of points in a short amount of time. Mount Pleasant has a defense that has given up 44 and 36 points in the last 2 games. All signs are pointing to Wildcat victory. That's what we got. BGA will improve to 3-1 after Friday.
All right, breaking down some more film. This will be a big game for Brentwood Academy. I believe that's Sean Cook, number 10, on the outside, eyeing the quarterback and the running back. Oatsville sells the fake, and that just does enough to freeze Cook. As you can see, the blocking up front. I mean, look at all the space Jeremiah has to work with. And with Cook now frozen, it now leaves the running back, Jacob Cretan, to be set up to block right there. But it's not going to really be necessary. Just him sliding over did enough to get Cook out of the way so Oatsville can make this pass. And then look at this, in single coverage, that's the freshman, Cameron Johnson, hauling in the catch and taking it in for 6.
Here's a game that's on most people's radar. It's one of the best teams in the state of Ohio versus one of the best teams in the state of Tennessee, a perennial powerhouse in the St. X Bombers out of Cincinnati, Ohio, are taking on Brentwood Academy at Brentwood Academy. The Bombers historically are one of the best teams in Ohio, despite losing early in the playoffs last season. This is one of their 4 out-of-state matchups this season. They are playing 4 different states in 2014. They've already defeated East St. Louis and defeated fellow Ohio powerhouse Coleraine. The Eagles edged out a tight one last week, of course, against Father Ryan, coming up with a huge pick 6 and ended up turning the game where Father Ryan could have possibly taken the lead. Instead of it being 10-7, it turned into 14-3. Jeremiah Oatsville and Thomas Swafford, platooning at quarterback, have both done a fantastic job and will more than likely be faced with another tough challenge. We saw Jeremiah Oatsville's touchdown pass to the freshman in that contest, but they have a tough task, and somebody they need to look out for is the 6'2", 235-pound Ohio State commit Justin Hillard, who plays outside linebacker for the St. X Bombers. We got to watch out for him coming around the end looking for some sacks. Still, we like BA. They're currently ranked 4th in Tennessee. How can you pick against them? And we like them to stay undefeated and to take down St. X at home. Innsworth taking on PJ P2. The Tigers traveling down to Hendersonville for that matchup. The Knights are 2-1, and with that one loss coming to McCallie last week, 59-38 in a shootout. PJ P2 running that balanced offense, averaging 220 passing yards and 203 rushing yards. Sophomore quarterback Ben Brooks has already thrown for almost 600 yards in just 3 games, and junior running back Kadarius Hunter has rushed for 443 yards, averaging over 6 per carry. Still, Innsworth is one of the best teams in the state. They are the best team in the state until someone says otherwise, and we're picking the Tigers to win on Friday as well. Father Ryan at Hillwood. Maybe Father Ryan has finally gotten a break from all these close games. They played their first 3 tough Overton, the BGA, and then, of course, last week against Brentwood Academy. Exciting games, exciting one-possession games until the Brentwood Academy, which is basically one possession all the way until the start of the 4th quarter. Having only scored 3 points in that game, this will be a good opportunity for their offense to get that confidence back as they're playing a team who has given up 48, 42, and 52 this season. Hillwood has only scored 28 points the whole year, and that came when CPA basically put their starters on the sidelines for the remainder of that game when CPA had the blowout victory at CPA. So look for the Fighting Irish to win big tomorrow night on the road. Beach and Independence, another game that people are talking about. Beach went down to the wire with Henry County, but maybe more impressive, in my opinion, is their win over Station Camp, a pretty good Station Camp team. And if you look at a few stats, and if what we have is accurate, you have to wonder, does Beach ever pass the ball? I get that the ground game is averaging over 300 yards on the ground per game, but only 20 passing yards per game, and most of those came in their last blowout win. So basically, it has you wondering, why aren't defenses just loading 8 in the box and stopping the run? So obviously, Beach is doing something right with their O-line. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the record that they do. What we already know about Indy is that they have a good quarterback, Andrew Bunch, whose primary target is Nate Johnson. Johnson is athletic. He turns short yardage into big gains, as we saw last week. And they have a good running back, Navy commit Dom Childress, who is obviously a solid running back. Nice guy to have in the backfield when you have Andrew Bunch at quarterback, Nate Johnson wide receiver. That makes this team really tough to beat. Independence is one of those teams that's going to fight for District 11 alongside Franklin, Centennial, and Ravenwood. And we'll have to see if Independence can stay undefeated as they host Beach, or as they take on Beach on Friday. All right, back to the film room with Independence taking on Summit here. The Eagles have 4 wide receivers lined up, and at shotgun is the PrepWeekly.com Williamson County Player of the Week, Andrew Bunch. And keep an eye, though, down here on your far right. That's Nate Johnson. That's Bunch's primary target, at least it was this past Saturday. See, just going up a few yards, planting, and he's got a blocker in front of him. He sees the pressure on the inside, but look at this. Leads it right to his blocker. It's in between 2 tacklers, and then from here, it's just the athleticism of Nate Johnson. Look at this, as he's able to swing his arm around the defender to get into the end zone. So now to our game of the week, which is going to be right here at Ravenwood. It should be a packed crowd. We saw what their crowd looked like for scrimmage games. So for a regular season game, yeah, I think it'll be pretty full. If they can fill the stands for a scrimmage game, a regular season homecoming game should have quite the crowd, and we're excited to be here for that game. We got a chance to talk to some of the players and, of course, Coach Hester earlier this week about what they're expecting from this game against Laverne tomorrow night.
Yes, we know what kind of crowd to expect. 2014 edition of Ravenwood football carry with them the mantra unfinished business. And although they defeated Laverne last season, this game could be a measuring stick for how much better the Raptors are in 2014. Running back Seth Rowland says it starts with the offensive line.
They just got to do with the O-line and all the blocking I've been having successful for this year. They just been working really hard in the weight room, and yeah, it's just a lot different from last year. We was really good on the O-line last year, but this year they just wanted it this more.
Seth also acknowledged the other star players in the team that make this offense look as good as, well, let's say this sunset.
When Van gets double teamed by the two corners, it opens up a whole lot, and they're scared of him, and then it goes right back to Percy. They have to guard him, and if they're guarding him, trying to think about him, then they forget about me, and they're like, all right, we got to stop Seth pounding, and then here comes Chris, and then Cole, and then they got too many weapons on offense.
The Raptors, of course, have a new quarterback this year, but most of the wide receiving core from last year is back, including future Georgia Bulldog Van Jefferson, who says the change at quarterback has only been positive.
Me and Cole, have been best friends ever since I came here. So, as soon as I got here, he became my friend. Automatically we start throwing together. So, the timing was there. He just has to, settle down a little bit. Get the offense down packed. But so far he's been doing great. And, he continue to have success.
Add all of that up, and Cole Brown will just tell it like it is.
Not to sound cocky, but I think we have probably the best skilled guys in the district for sure. When you have the pass game like we do, and then you get the run game like we do, plus I can pull it and run, it's very, very hard to stop.
That may be true, but Coach Hester and his players know how tough tomorrow's bout will be.
It's just like any other football game. If we value the ball and don't turn it over and play good defense and don't have many penalties on offense, we should be okay. Laverne's a very athletic team, and it'll be a challenge for us. They're 2-1 on the year, coming off back-to-back wins after losing their first game, so it should be an exciting one.
The Raptors are coming off a bye week, and Coach Hester says they're rested and ready to go play in front of a packed stadium at 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of excitement in the air. Get to play at home from the home crowd for the first time. It is the homecoming game, so that adds a little excitement to it. Get some of the alumni to come back out and check us out. And it's a non-district game trying to go 3-0, so a lot of excitement in the air.
And now to our Jack in the Box athletes of the week on the male side. For football, it's pretty unanimous, really. Hunter Zimmerman from Fairview has had an excellent season so far. And last week threw 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers for over 230 yards through the air. He was 15 of 18 on his passes against Stewart County, leading his team to a big win. So he is our Jack in the Box male athlete of the week. And for our female athlete of the week, it's Carly Horvath from Centennial. She had a big game in the Cougars' upset win over Ravenwood, a game that needed a rally in one of the last sets to pick up the win over their district rivals. One of the first time in several years that Centennial has gotten that win, and it took a big game out of Carly to do that. So congratulations to both Hunter Zimmerman and Carly Horvath. They are our Jack in the Box athletes of the week. So we'll see you on Friday night as we conclude another edition of our preview show. We'll be right here at Ravenwood and what it looks like a gorgeous field here in Brentwood, Tennessee. It is going to be an exciting crowd, a very pumped and thrilled crowd as we see Seth Rowland, Van Jefferson walking away right now. These guys are fired up. They're ready. They're ready to put up some big numbers and light up that scoreboard on Friday. We expect a lot of points. It's like I said, this is one of the best offenses in the state. They got a good quarterback, good wide receiving core, good running backs, and the defense, we didn't even talk about that yet, isn't that bad either. So expect an electric crowd, and we're also saying, as we predicted, expect a Raptor win. So for the Williamson Source, I'm Steve Peak, and we'll see you Friday on the Wrap-Up Show.